My name's Iris Nash, 34, and the last place anyone thought they'd find me was in the back row of my brother's promotion party at the Hilton in Miami Beach. He's 29, freshly crowned CEO. Up on stage, he leans into the mic and says loud enough for everyone to hear, "Some people are just too slow, best suited for factory work." 80 guests burst out laughing. Mom and Dad step forward, smiling wide, holding a silver tray stacked with documents, the official transfer giving him control of an $85 million Hawaii resort, plus the keys to a brand new Audi. Dad grins like it's Christmas morning. "We're proud of you, son," he says. Unlike certain others who've only brought shame to this family, I stay frozen in my bargain dress, pretending not to hear, until a man in a charcoal gray suit slides quietly into the seat beside me. He presses a thick envelope into my palm and whispers, "Time to remind them who you really are." Drop a comment below. Tell me where you're watching from and what time it is. Let's see how far the story reaches. Every morning at 5:30 a.m., I drag myself out of bed in my one-bedroom apartment and start the 45-minute drive to the factory in Haya in my rusted Honda Civic. The engine sputters like it's on its last breath, but it still gets me there. By 6 sharp, I clock in, lace up my steel-toed boots, and take my place on the line, eyes locked on a conveyor belt that never quits. Hundreds of circuit boards glide by each shift. My job? Catch the defects before they go out. Miss even one, and the whole batch, sometimes worth $45,000, comes back. That paycheck keeps the lights on and my fridge full of leftovers. The break room reeks of burnt coffee and microwave popcorn, fluorescent bulbs buzzing overhead like angry wasps. I eat my sandwich standing because all the chairs are taken, then head back to work. By 4, my back screaming, my fingers stiff, and all I can think about is the crawl home through traffic. Across town, my brother is probably still in bed, stretching out in his Bickle penthouse, with nothing to do but decide what luxury he wants next. He strolls into the boardroom around 9, coffee in hand, barking orders at interns who earn more in a single month than I manage in 3. 300 grand a year, not counting bonuses, stock options, and whatever other luxuries come with being the family's golden boy. His office stretches wall to wall with glass, overlooking Biscayne Bay. There's a private gym upstairs and a concierge waiting to park his car. He floods social media with rooftop selfies captioned "closing deals." Mom and Dad blow up the family group chat with screenshots of his latest magazine feature. Some buzzword-heavy fintech article that sounds brilliant if you don't look too closely. They tag him in every post. Hearts and fire emojis everywhere. My name hasn't popped up in that chat for months. Last year, during a graveyard shift, the methane alarm blared. A pipe had cracked near the loading dock, gas hissing out fast enough to blow the whole place sky high. Most people froze. I didn't. I just ran, slammed the emergency shutoff, and held it until the pressure gauge hit 0. 47 coworkers walked out alive that night. For weeks afterward, thank you letters filled my mailbox. Handwritten notes from people I barely knew. Some tucked in photos of their kids, others slipped in small gifts. Homemade cookies, a crumpled 20. I kept every one of them in a shoebox under my bed. Never told anyone at home. Why bother? They'd just shrug, doing your job. My Aunt Donna down in Tampa found out, though. She's a nurse, works double shifts in the ER, but still calls every Sunday. "You did the right thing, Iris," she told me last week, her voice steady as always. "Don't let them shrink you for it." I laughed it off, but her word stuck. Once, she sent a care package, bandages, protein bars, and a note that read, "For the hero who won't admit it." I ate the bars during overtime, never mentioned it to Mom or Dad. They don't ask about my day anymore. Now, the family chat lights up again, Quinn's face plastered on a billboard. Quinn closing another deal. Quinn shaking hands with investors. My messages stay unread. They assume I'm fine, scraping by, too busy to notice how loud their silence has become. I scroll past the photos, thumb hovering over the keyboard, then lock my phone. Some nights, I pull out that shoebox and read the letters again, fingertips tracing the ink. One man wrote, "You gave me another Christmas with my daughter." Another said, "I owe you my life." Simple words, but heavier than any bonus Quinn ever boasts about. The factory floor hums with noise, metal clanging, supervisors shouting, radios blaring reggaeton. I wear earplugs beneath my hard hat, but the vibration still travels straight through my bones. I could recite every safety notice plastered on the walls by heart, each exit route, every first aid point, every protocol drilled into memory. After what happened, management added new sensors and handed me a plaque engraved safety champion. It's screwed into the wall above my station now, collecting dust. No one from Holmes ever come to see it. No one's even mentioned it. Then, a week ago, a thick ivory envelope showed up in my mailbox, formal and heavy, embossed with our family crest. Inside, an invitation from Dad, celebrating Quinn's promotion to CEO. Family presence required. I sat staring at it for an hour, already knowing my place wasn't to be celebrated, but to serve as a silent punchline, the family's cautionary tale beside Quinn's success story. Still, I circled the date on my calendar. Donna told me, "Go if you want, but don't let them crush you this time." I nodded, though she couldn't see it. That evening at 7, while I was reheating leftover rice, my phone buzzed across the counter. Quinn's name lit the screen. His text was short. "Don't come to the party. It's embarrassing." By Friday night, the Hilton Miami Beach Ballroom was alive with chatter. 80 guests in sleek suits and glittering cocktail dresses. Crystal chandeliers bathed the room in gold light while waiters floated by, balancing trays of champagne. I slipped through a side door, still wearing my work slacks and blouse, avoiding the stares that followed. Aunt Donna, who'd driven in from Tampa, spotted me first. She waved me over to her table near the wall, her navy dress simple. No jewelry but her wedding ring. She gave me a quick hug before we sat down together. Quinn Nash stepped onto the stage like he owned it. Microphone in hand, smile rehearsed to perfection. He started his speech about innovation and leadership, then paused for effect. "Success takes vision," he said, his eyes sweeping the crowd until they found mine. "Not everyone's born with it. Some are just built for factory work." Laughter rippled through the audience, a few clapping along. My face burned, but I stayed put, eyes fixed on the floor. Under the table, Donna's hand found my knee, her grip steady. Dad, Walt Nash, joined Quinn up front, throwing an arm around his shoulders. Then Mom, Gail, followed, carrying a velvet box and a thick folder. She opened it at the podium, revealing glossy photos of a vast oceanfront resort, complete with private villas and endless pools. "To honor your new position as CEO," Dad announced, his voice booming through the speakers, "we're transferring management of the $85 million Hawaii resort to you." Applause erupted. Mom dangled a set of Audi keys between her fingers, letting them catch the light. "And this beauty's yours, drive it all in style." Grinning wide, Quinn raised the keys high, soaking in the cheers. Then Mom leaned toward the mic, her voice sugar-sweet but sharp. "We're so proud of you, son. Unlike certain others who only bring shame to the family." The room roared louder. I caught whispers at nearby tables, curious glances cutting my way. A woman in pearls leaned toward her husband. "That's the sister, right? The one who fixes machines." He chuckled quietly. Donna's hand tightened over mine. The weight of every gaze pressed in, the air thick and closing around me. Then Dad reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a single sheet, an official form printed on our family estate's letterhead. It listed the resort under Quinn's name now. He looked at me and gestured toward the stage. "Iris," he said, "come up here. Sign this, waiver of inheritance rights. Let's make everything official for your brother." The room fell silent, every head turning in my direction. Conversation stopped mid-breath. I rose slowly, my legs heavy, and made my way down the aisle between tables. Guests stepped aside, some watching with faint smirks, others avoiding my eyes entirely. The thick carpet softened my footsteps, but my heartbeat thundered in my ears. On stage, Dad extended a sheet of paper toward me. The document, a waiver, required me to forfeit any claim to the estate until probate was complete, effectively giving Quinn full control right away. Quinn stood beside him, arms folded, a smug grin tugging at his lips. Mom fiddled with her necklace, her gaze fixed anywhere but on me. The pen in Dad's hand looked harmless, but felt impossibly heavy when I took it, the metal icy against my skin. The empty signature line glared up at me, cold and accusing. Guests leaned closer in their seats. Someone in the front row snapped a photo. Donna began to rise, then froze halfway, pressing her lips together. My fingers tightened around the pen until my knuckles turned white. My hand shook as I lowered it to the page. The tip touched down, and a droplet of ink bled out, smudging across my thumb. Just then, a door creaked open behind the stage. All eyes shifted as a man entered, Ted Rice, 72, dressed in a charcoal suit with his tie slightly undone. He carried a worn leather briefcase and walked with steady purpose. Conversations faltered again as a few faces registered recognition. Ted reached the edge of the stage and stopped. Dad's jaw hardened, his expression tightening. Mom's fingers twisted anxiously around her pearls. Quinn shifted uneasily, the Audi keys still dangling from his hand, a prize that suddenly seemed uncertain. Ted cleared his throat, the sound sharp and commanding. "Sorry for the interruption," he began, his tone calm yet strong enough to quiet the room completely. "My name is Ted Rice, former legal counsel to Eleanor Nash." He placed the briefcase on a nearby table and unlatched it with 2 deliberate clicks. Guests leaned forward again. Phones that had been poised to record the signing now hesitated midair. Donna's grip on my arm eased as she stared, eyes wide. From the briefcase, Ted withdrew a thick folder embossed with a notary seal dated 10 years prior. "Mrs. Nash had this will notarized in my office a week before her final hospital stay," he said, raising it for the front rows to see. The original was delivered to the family after her passing, as required. He paused, fixing his gaze on my father. "But that document," he continued, "was destroyed soon after the funeral, burned in the backyard fireplace, according to 2 household staff members who later signed sworn affidavits." A collective gasp rippled through the audience like a breaking wave. Dad's jaw tightened so fiercely I could see the muscle ticking beneath his skin. Mom leaned toward Quinn, whispering something urgent, but he shook his head hard, refusing whatever she said. From his briefcase, Ted retrieved a tablet and tapped the screen with steady precision. Instantly, a video flickered to life, projected across the massive backdrop behind the podium, where Quinn's promotion banner still hung proudly. There she was, Grandma Ella Laner, sitting in her favorite armchair by the window, frail yet sharp-eyed, a quilt draped neatly across her lap. "If you're seeing this," she began, her voice strong despite the years and illness, "it means I've passed on and someone's trying to twist my final wishes. Iris has saved lives, real human lives, not just figures in a ledger. She inherits everything. No stipulations. No waiting." The video cut off abruptly. The room went utterly still. Donna sprang to her feet beside me. "Stop this right now," she shouted, jabbing a finger at Dad. "That's Mom's real will. You can't pretend it doesn't exist." Security guards by the main doors froze, uncertain, waiting for Dad's cue. But he just stared at Ted, speechless. Ted raised a hand to calm Donna, then turned back to the audience. Opening a folder, he lifted a document high for everyone to see. Pages thick with legal print, signatures in blue ink, red date stamps clear as blood. "This certified copy," Ted declared, his voice carrying through the hall, "was filed with the court the same day as the original. It transfers the entire $65 million estate to Iris Nash, specifically because she saved 47 lives during the factory incident last year. No interim control. No exceptions. Final and binding." Quinn lunged forward, face flushed. "This is a lie," he roared. Dad yanked him back sharply by the arm. Mom's face turned ghostly pale as she gripped the podium for balance. Around the room, guests exchanged stunned looks, some raising their phones again to record the unfolding chaos. Near the front, a few investors rose to their feet, murmuring about legal exposure and due diligence. Ted pressed on, reading aloud each clause: asset inventories, offshore accounts, the Hawaiian Resort Trust, even a clause penalizing anyone who coerced signatures under pressure. Every word struck like a hammer cracking glass. I stood frozen on stage, pen still hovering over the waiver. The water in my glass trembled from the shake in my hand. That waiver now looked absurd, just a meaningless prop in a drama that had flipped scripts in an instant. Through the blinding lights, Ted met my eyes. Ella Lehner knew what you did, Iris, he said evenly. She saw the OSHA reports, the letters from those workers. This was always meant to be yours. Before the crowd could react, Ted snapped open his briefcase again and drew out a thick, 3-inch stack of papers tied with red cord. He dropped it onto the podium with a heavy thud that cut through the low murmurs. Let's talk evidence, he said calmly, voice carrying all the way to the back. The top sheet bore the official OSHA incident report, 8 pages of diagrams, witness statements, and Iris's name circled in bold red ink. This document verifies the methane leak that Iris personally stopped by manually shutting the valve while it was still under pressure, Ted stated, holding it up so the audience could clearly see the embossed official seal. Turning the page, he revealed the next section, 47 handwritten letters of gratitude from the workers whose lives she'd saved. Each included dates, signatures, and even family photos. He spread them neatly across the table in plastic sleeves, everyone notarized for the court's record. Next came the financial documents, crisp bank statements with highlighted entries showing $2 million discreetly routed into the factory's safety improvements, upgraded ventilation, advanced sensors, and mandatory training programs for 3 facilities. The money had come through a donor-advised fund linked to Iris in her tax filings, though she never once took public credit for any of it. Finally, Ted lifted a framed plaque from the case. National Workplace Safety Award, presented to Iris Nash, April, Washington, D.C., by the U.S. Department of Labor for exemplary courage in crisis. The gold lettering shimmered beneath the chandeliers. Then Ted picked up a thinner folder marked Quinn Nash in bold black ink. He laid out 3 glossy LinkedIn screenshots, Quinn in a tuxedo at charity galas, smiling beside oversized checks for children's hospitals and disaster relief funds. He was the featured keynote speaker at each event, Ted said evenly. Total compensation, $50,000, wired directly to his personal account within 48 hours. The attached invoices showed that, after administrative fees and travel costs, none of that money ever reached the charities. One email thread displayed Quinn bargaining for higher appearance fees, claiming in his pitch deck that the funds would change lives. Another showed him flatly rejecting an audit follow-up. Donna rose slowly, her expression composed, and reached into her purse. 2 years ago, Iris borrowed $5,000 from me, she announced, unfolding a worn sheet of notebook paper. It was an IOU in Iris's handwriting, signed and dated, with a column of weekly $50 repayments checked off in blue ink. Cash only, no transfers. It was for 20 industrial fire extinguishers the company couldn't afford after a round of cost cuts, Donna said, voice steady. She repaid every cent from her wages, never missed one, even when overtime was cut. Their father's face flushed deep purple, veins standing out at his temples. Their mother clutched her pearls until they pressed into her throat. Quinn's fist tightened, knuckles bone white. Guests murmured, some filming openly, others whispering about audits, board reviews, and possible lawsuits. A venture capitalist in the front row stood abruptly. Has the board been informed of these discrepancies? He demanded. His partner, already typing on a tablet, gave a grim nod. Security started forward, but halted when Ted raised his hand. Calmly, he res-tagged the documents into precise piles, each tagged and labeled. Every single item here, Ted concluded, is already filed with the probate court. The coercion clause activates the moment a signature is attempted under duress, he declared, his tone sharp. Which we've just seen happen. He motioned toward the waiver still lying on the podium, streaked with a fresh smear of ink. Quinn lunged forward, his voice cracking with fury. She's just a factory worker. She doesn't deserve this. The door slammed open once more. Glenn Pike, the company's chief financial officer, stumbled in, face pale, tablet clutched tightly to his chest. He hurried toward the stage, nearly tripping over a chair leg jutting out from the front row. Emergency board vote just passed, he gasped, swiping at his tablet with shaking fingers. Coercion clause triggered. $18 million in contingency funds transferred to Iris Nash, effective immediately. The projector flickered to life, displaying the wire confirmation. Account numbers bold timestamps, and green digital signatures from 3 independent trustees. Dad lunged toward Glenn, grabbing for the tablet. "You can't do this." Glenn jerked it out of reach. "All subsidiary assets are frozen," he announced, his voice rising above the chaos spreading through the room. "Independent forensic audit begins at dawn. No access until clearance is granted." Behind them, Quinn's promotion banner blinked out, replaced by a glaring red notice from the bank portal. Account suspended. Hawaii Resort Management contract revoked. Audi title repossessed. "Repo trucks are outside the valet right now," Glenn continued, eyes still on the screen. Quinn let out a strangled scream and charged at him like a raging bull. Security intercepted, slamming him to the ground, 2 guards restraining his arms while another barked into a radio for backup. "Fraudulent expense claims, over 200,000, Glenn read aloud, scrolling quickly through the data. Board voted unanimous termination for cause. No severance. No non-compete payout. Mom collapsed into a chair, sobbing so hard her shoulders shook. Dad stood motionless, mouth opening and closing, eyes darting helplessly between the projector and his son pinned to the floor. Donna wrapped her arms around me, pulling me in close enough for me to catch the faint scent of her lavender perfume. I let the pen slip from my fingers, watching it roll across the podium, leaving one last ink blot on the waiver. "I don't need this family anymore," I said, my voice calm for the first time that night. "We're finished." 3 months later, I stood outside the newly built Safety Training Center in Orlando. The sign above the sleek glass doors read Nash Safety Foundation, etched in solid steel letters that caught the morning light. Inside, over 1,500 factory workers had earned their certifications that week alone. They practiced fire suppression drills, ran hazard response simulations through VR headsets, and rehearsed emergency procedures on replica assembly lines. My team managed every part of the operation, funded solely through the contingency settlement. No interviews, no ribbon ceremonies, just quiet, measurable progress. Factories from Miami up to Tampa sent their crews in rotating groups, and within the first quarter, state data showed workplace accidents had fallen by 28%. I'd bought a 2-bedroom condo in Coral Gables on a peaceful street shaded by royal poinciana trees. A mango tree grew in the courtyard, and from my balcony on the second floor, I could see the ocean. Mornings began with black coffee on the patio, flipping through safety journals. Evenings ended with slow walks by the bay, watching sailboats drift under skies streaked in pink. The factory life was behind me. I now worked remotely as a safety consultant, handling upgrades across the country and traveling only when necessary. Quinn stocked shelves at a warehouse in Doral. $15 an hour, no benefits, shift starting before dawn. He scanned barcodes, moved pallets stacked with electronics, and kept his head down while former coworkers whispered gala scandal under their breath as he passed. Walt and Gail lived in a small 1-bedroom in Kendall. Faded beige walls, cracked kitchen tiles, and a chlorine-scented community pool. They'd sold the Brickell penthouse to pay off their legal debts. The Hawaiian resort? Gone to creditors when the bank took control. No more meetings, no galas, no private jets. Every Sunday, Donna drove up from Tampa in her aging Honda Accord. We cooked pasta with basil from my balcony garden, watched old movies on the 65-inch screen, and spoke about everything except the past. The others never called. No texts, no chance encounters at the market, just silence, and I'd grown to like it. At sunset, I'd rest my arms on the balcony railing, listening to the waves break against the seawall below. Money, I realized, can't purchase a clear conscience.